You're live.
Okay, welcome, folks. This is House Corrections and Institutions Committee. Thanks today. Today is Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Thursday, May 21st. We're meeting, it's a little bit after 4 o'clock. We're meeting on S-193. We have with us today the Chair of House Judiciary Committee to talk to us about some of the work that they've been doing over the past few days and to lay the groundwork for an amendment that we're going to see to the bill tomorrow morning at 8:30. So Martin, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. So Martin Lalone, representative from South Burlington, and Chair of the House Judiciary Committee. So first, I'd like to thank your committee for all the work that you did and have done on this bill. And it really, I think, came a long ways. I think our committee, I think it's fair to say, I can talk on with respect to my read of our committee, is that we were very concerned about what was going to happen in the interim while we're waiting for a forensic facility, and appreciate the work you did on that particular issue. But and that's been kind of just to kind of talk a little bit procedurally where we are at the end of the session, where we might only have a couple more days or a few more days. Please. That I've been in ongoing conversations with the chair of Senate Judiciary as well, which also has overlap with corrections issues. Just to try to understand where they are, to start kind of preparing where we might end up in conference committee. And I really felt the place that we were going to have probably the most negotiation and really the focus was going to be on what do we do in the interim. And have had conversations with Nader, kind of just explaining that without really having an idea, just knowing that this was an area that I thought we should address. So when Tom Burdick's amendment, when we started looking at it today at 11 o'clock, it was along the lines of where I thought we should be going or really talking about in conference committee, because it really is focused on the interim. What are we going to do between now and when there's a forensic facility? And that's really critical because we know that we have these individuals who are being held for some period of time, it could be a long time as well, who have been found incompetent to stand trial, and they're not getting any services. They're not getting competency restoration services. My understanding is they don't really get forensic risk services either. You have to be convicted to get the full panoply of services from, that was a big word, panoply, of services from the Department of Corrections. So it's like, what do we do in the interim? And what I saw with what Tom's proposal really, I thought would get us there. So I had conversation with Nader, with the chair Hashim of Senate Judiciary, and had a discussion about an idea of how to take what Representative Burdick came up with to maybe be able to bring this to the finish line without conference committee. And I had the discussion with him, and he felt that it was something that they could concur on, which I think is an important part of why I'm pressing this at this point. So the basic concept is that to service these individuals while we're waiting for the forensic facility that we want, to take care of these individuals in the interim, Department of Corrections has to have a lot more involvement than what we are anticipating for when there's an official forensic facility. So this would have rulemaking, emergency rulemaking, rather than just having the feasibility plan. It's really expediting this, having a rulemaking for Department of Corrections to be able to provide the treatment, to have the victim notification, not Department of Corrections.
Yeah.
Let me make also very clear. Let me make very clear for the treatment to be occurring in the Department of Corrections facility, because that's where they're going to be until we have a facility. It's not DOC. It is the AHS medical director is in charge of all the clinical components of it. DOC would have more expansive responsibility than when we get to a forensic facility for the security, because they're going to be presumably getting treatment in DOC in the interim, because we don't have a place yet other than that. And I think it would be a disservice to not take care of those individuals while we're trying to get to the forensic facility. It also would have DOC having more involvement in the supervision of any individuals who have been found not restorable, not dangerous, and released under conditions that they would have more involvement in the supervision than we would anticipate, again, when there's a forensic facility. So the concept is that the sections of the bill as we've seen it now, mainly section 2, 4, and 5, would have changes to allow Department of Corrections to be involved in the security and in the monitoring. Again, not in the actual providing the treatment. And that would sunset in July of 29. And the sections 2, 4, and 5 that we have in the version that we have passed out, version 7.1, would go into effect on July 1st, 2029. And so that's the main thing. The forensic, the facility, the feasibility plan would largely be what it is right now. The only thing that would be taken out would be section 12B, which would essentially be replaced by the rulemaking. So again, the concept is, can't reiterate this enough. We have these individuals who, for public safety reasons, are being held, and we need to try to provide them the treatment for both the forensic risk and competency restoration while we're working towards a forensic facility. I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can. The language is still being drafted currently by Eric Fitzpatrick.
Just want to be clear for folks. So in our feasibility plan, which is section 7 of our bill on page 27, for folks who may be following along, we were concerned as well about the interim situation. So we did two things. We wanted, this is in the feasibility plan, we wanted the Agency of Human Services to look at possible out-of-state residence placement, because we didn't want people languishing in our DOC facilities like they are now. And we also wanted a plan to come back for a competency restoration program within the correctional facility, provided that the entity is not contracted under DOC. So we were very clear there could be a restorative program offered and put in place, but it would not be DOC providing that. You've kept that separation.
Correct. Yeah.
And what you have done is that this interim competency restoration program that would be done by the Agency of Human Services,
right,
but it would be in a correctional facility for those folks who are currently there. There would be emergency rules promulgated to implement that program. And who would go through rulemaking? Is it DOC or the Agency of Human Services?
Agency of Human Services, as with input from all the departments that are under AHS. Bail, DMH, DOC, Department of Health.
So you would strike B, 12B from our amendment.
That's the only thing that comes out of the feasibility plan, correct?
So then the next piece is monitoring in the community. And we had that as part of our feasibility plan as well. But it wasn't DOC that was the lead entity for monitoring. These folks are detainees. They're not under the custody of DOC. If they're not competent to stand trial, they have not gone to trial to be sentenced. So they're basically detainees.
Right.
Detainees are released from correctional facilities. They're not under the custody of DOC. So what we did in the feasibility plan for monitoring in the community for folks who are released would be those departments that would have custody of the folks in collaboration with DOC. So are you keeping that same structure or
No,
not?
that flips
Okay,
in the interim.
in the interim, and how
Because
long is the interim?
there's little to
Time?
July 29. And the reason for that, frankly, is our experience in the fact that DMH needs that time to figure out how they are going to be involved in that, because they do not supervise or monitor very well unless somebody's hospitalized. So it does have DOC in collaboration with those departments, Dale, Department of Health, and Department of Mental Health, doing the monitoring when they are released, if anybody is released under this bill.
And is there rules being promulgated for that, or is DOC doing
That's a good
policies and
question.
directives for that?
That's a good question. I don't recall off the top of my head if that's part of the rulemaking or not. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, yes, standards for quality assurance and improvement in clinical oversight, documentation and reporting requirements, safety and risk management protocols, and mechanisms for monitoring compliance.
Mechanisms for monitoring compliance, but is that being interpreted for monitoring out in the community or while they're in the facility?
That's a good question.
So that could be interpreted either way.
I mean, we could make it clear, monitoring compliance, including community supervision.
So that's the gist of the proposed amendment that you're going to be presenting to your committee.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you just covered some of my questions. As I was listening to your committee conversations about this amendment, one of the things, and I'm perfectly fine waiting until we have language in front of us, but one of the things that was changed was the direction, the definition of a facility in itself, remove some therapeutic language.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I checked that as well with healthcare is where that came from. And the idea, the thing is that they're not going to be able to license the Department of Corrections for this.
for this
So
interim period.
for the interim period, it stays in there again for when it's for the forensic facility. This is a forensic and competency restoration program that's going to occur in the interim. And so there, it's got the clinical data, or clinical language, but not the licensing requirement.
And then let me just articulate the concern I've had all along, like from the start of the Senate version of the bill, and then maybe just get a reaction / response. And maybe my concerns. I worry that we're creeping back toward those concerns, and maybe you can allay those concerns. I worry that we are setting a potential roadmap here to operationalize competency restoration solely within a correctional facility, within a correctional infrastructure. I'm worried. I was worried when we created this feasibility plan, right? Because it's incredibly easy to look at feasibility and come back a year from now saying the feasibility is 0, right? And in the meantime, we've already then embedded the Department of Corrections into the planning, into significant consultation, into significant security framework surrounding this system. And I worry that we're creating a transitional model that then gives very little practical or political incentive for the administration to transition beyond that correctional infrastructure. That's what I worry about, right? Once competency restoration becomes operationalized within the Department of Corrections, future administrations even would be able to say that the system is already functioning just fine, already staffed, we've got it housed, and therefore, a truly independent forensic facility is just no longer really feasible or necessary. That's what I worry about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are legitimate worries. I mean, and two things. I balance that against, all right, well, if we don't do this, where are we left? And we're left with these individuals who are really languishing and not getting the services they need now. So that's kind of one thing. And it's like, in my mind, a trade-off. And the second is to keep on with the legislature in our limited, I believe, oversight role, but we do have control over budgeting and we can influence that, is that we need to pay attention and be working on this. And we do have the sunset, that's in place. So those are the things, but I'm not going to downplay what your concerns are, because I have those concerns as well, and others do, and they're legitimate concerns. But again, I balance that against the terrible situation that we have right now. The status quo can't stay. And I'm willing to take the chance and to continue to watch over this if the people of South Burlington will have me back next biennium, to make sure that we're making that progress. And that's the best I can offer. I can't offer you any assurances beyond that.
So I know we got a couple questions, but I just want some clarity. So our language creates the feasibility plan that would be reported back to the General Assembly come January. And it included the competency restoration trust for those folks who are currently incarcerated. So your proposal is that would be done, but it would be through the rulemaking process. And those rules, it'd be emergency rules. And when would those rules be put in place? Is it end of this year?
Yes, they are supposed to be in place by, December 31st.
So then the program, competency program under your amendment would then get started in the facilities come January next year, 27.
Presumably, yes.
Because they couldn't get started before then. In our language, they couldn't get started before then either. They'd have to wait. How long do the emergency rules stay in effect? Is there a sunset on that?
So that was a conversation that I had with Eric on whether to belt and suspenders and have it in the rule itself saying that it expires January 1st, 2029, or if it's actually sufficient to just have the sunset. But I think he's going with the former of the rules will be repealed or will last on.
When the new rules come into place?
Yeah, presumably, well, yes, presumably the new rules will be ready by then, if not earlier. So, but right.
That's in the definition for forensic facilities. The Agency of Human Services is going to promulgate rules
Right,
for that.
right.
And that section for the forensic facility becomes effective January 1st, 28.
And I mean, that's a different timeline for rulemaking.
Right, but once those rules kick in and the forensic facility kicks in, the emergency rules will go away.
Well, at this
The
point,
interim.
it's going away July 1st, 2029.
James and then.
Well, mine's quick. I have the same concerns both of you just offered for long term. But as Martin said, we had this conversation here last week. I have very significant concerns about the gap in between time. So I'm glad that you guys are doing this. I don't want to see the language before I go gung ho, but I think it's a good midterm that we can't let this gap go without being addressed, leaving people languishing, as you said, or just not having any of these services available or having statutory ability to keep people that are, for example, incompetent. I don't know if this amendment covered that, but.
Connor?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Would this amendment still include a sunset provision before the actual establishment of the forensic facility, like we have in our draft there?
It would sunset in, well, the current idea is sunset in July 1st, 2029.
So we'd keep that in there?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
And do you see, we're all talking about like people languishing in there. I think the one, and we didn't address it, so I'm not like accusing judiciary, but like there's a lot of people languishing who are incompetent to stand trial right now, beyond those who are sentenced for like life sentences for the most heinous crimes. Would the interim plan look at maybe like expanding that to people who also could be very dangerous, incompetent to stand trial, accused of serious crimes, but not ones that reach that threshold? You know what I mean? Like we're talking about people languishing. There's a lot of people languishing.
So
You're talking beyond.
Be beyond
Beyond
the life
population for the life
sentence.
sentence, right?
So I agree with that concept. For whatever reason, when we were talking about for this facility, we would lose human services support. They're fine at this stage for that high level. So it's policy, I agree with the bigger in this building politics. That's why I haven't pursued that.
Connor, I presented that to the 3 or 4 chairs and I came out a few inches short.
Right.
I will say it like until the end. It is,
You're right.
it is not necessarily addressing even the most dangerous people, right? Because I think the clinical diagnosis dictates their potential for dangerousness in the community more than a judge or an accusation. So that's a problem I have with the bill overall, I think, you know. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I appreciate it.
I can't argue with you.
So one thing we had in our amendment, that this amendment would amend, part of our amendment on the feasibility plan, is we had the interim status development or updates to joint justice oversight.
Right.
I'm wondering in your amendment, because we're dealing with, again, they're going through emergency rules, but I'm wondering if in your amendment you could add that they need to give status updates in that development of the interim competency restoration program
Right.
to joint justice, because our amendment did include that interim piece to be updated.
I'm looking at that right now.
It's on page 20. Well, is it our bill? Is it our amendment or is it your amendment?
No, it would still be there for that check-in if we wanted to.
But it's not. You're taking away the competency restoration program B. So the
So-
updates that they would give us would not include the
Oh, I
interim.
see. So the updates for August and November meetings, joint justice is provide an interim status update on the development of the feasibility plan required pursuant to subsection A of the section. So it's the whole feasibility plan.
Yeah, but you're taking out the interim part.
That's true. We would
So I'm wondering if
add-
for the interim part, they also
Right.
need to come over joint justice. Because they're losing, by taking that part out of our amendment, they don't have to report on that to joint justice.
So I would suggest an amendment to subdivision B, subsection B on page 27, rather than, as part of the
But you're
amendment.
taking this out.
No, I mean, in the report back, making it clear that they're also to report back.
The interim.
Right.
That would be in your amendment that you would need to add that.
Yes.
So the monitoring piece in the community, where are folks on that one? Because that's a little bit in reverse of what we have done in the report back. So the report back from the feasibility plan would be when the forensic facility is up and running. What is the plan for monitoring folks in the community, where the lead is the department in which the person is under the custody of, not DOC. It's in collaboration with DOC. What your amendment does for the interim is flip that. Have you spoken to DOC about this and how that might impact their P&P offices? Because there is an impact.
I have not. I would have to check with Tom Burdick or it's also, he's worked with the administration on this issue, so I'm assuming that they've okayed this, but we will double check.
So who would set the conditions to those monitoring in the community? Is it
That's the court.
DOC?
No, the court is setting the conditions.
The court would set the conditions. So DOC has administrative procedures when they monitor folks in the community. And I don't know how that would play in as well, because that's beyond the conditions that the court would set.
So we can make sure that in their interim rulemaking, they're addressing. So,
Well, let me just add to that. So we're talking about people who are found being competent to stand trial, but not a danger, they're being released. Does that feel accurate?
Say it again, I'm sorry. I wasn't-
We're talking about people who have been found not competent, but also not a danger. So they're
And
being,
not restorable.
and not restorable.
Right.
And we heard that oftentimes, I think that's fair, the reasons they're found not a danger is because they have a plan that includes medication, a plan that includes therapy, whatever, right?
Right.
That as long as they're following that plan, they're not going to be a danger.
Right.
I don't have confidence that our DOC staff are trained to follow up in the community on those concerns, right? If it's somebody who has suddenly stopped taking their medication, that to me feels like a different reason to become concerned about danger to self or others than a violation of conditions or whatever. Like, I'm not, and I know you all talked this morning about training required for DOC staff who are now being placed in this position. And I know what the commissioner has said about the training that has already occurred, whether that's at the academy or whatever. I'm not convinced that DOC staff are well-trained for this population of individuals. I would much rather, this is why I have problems with flipping that community monitoring arrangement to kind of edge away from the agency.
So the language would be the language right now is supervision by the Department of Corrections in collaboration with the Commissioner of Mental Health, Department of Disabilities, Ages, and Living, or the Department of Health. So that, it's not just Department of Corrections.
I know, but it wasn't just the agency before. It was in
So-
collaboration with DOC before.
So can I interject here?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, don't work with the local PMP office in Springfield on supervision of folks, particularly when there's mental health issues. And particularly making sure that they are participating in the program. You're dealing with HIPAA. And a lot of times the PMP have no information because HIPAA kicks in. And we have, in our local area, we spent a lot of time, probably about 6 months, working up an agreement between our PMP office and our local designated agencies. So at least the local mental health agencies could share some preliminary information with PMP that, yes, this person is complying with the order to be in therapy or whatever, because prior to that, PMP never could get that information because it's HIPAA. So is that going to play in here? Because particularly if they're on medications or they need mental health treatment, PMP officers won't have access to that because it's HIPAA. Is a concern. I mean, I'm just thinking what happened to us in Springfield. Last year, it took 6 months to work through communications between that because PMP was having a really hard time. How do we know that this person has completed the court order for treatment, for therapy, because the person said they did?
So isn't that, I mean, so in this scenario, doesn't the Department of Mental Health have that information?
But they're saying HIPAA, they can't release it.
But if they're working in collaboration with Department of Corrections, are we not giving them the ability? And so,
I don't know. I mean, I'm going by what, I don't know what that means, if HIPAA would kick in or not.
so how about this?
I don't want to throw a curve, but
No. So there may be, I mean, so, and this again, this is not my amendment right now. So I would have to double check with the sponsor.
they left.
But why can we say, I mean, the idea is like, this is joint supervision. And maybe we're not saying that clearly enough. Maybe it's supervision by the Department of Corrections, not in collaboration with, and the Department of Mental Health and those other departments. And that the concept as I've been hearing it is that this is like joint supervision, well, we can't really call it joint custody because that's not necessarily what it is. It could be with, not really that, but.
I just put that on the table because that was a real issue with our PMP folks. They said, we can't get this information. So we're basing it on the person that we're supervising. And unless they sign a release of information.
Right.
But sometimes they say, oh yeah, I didn't know," but they didn't. They have no, P&P officers have no access. Except based on what the person that they're supervising, oh yeah, I can believe that, I can believe it. And if they didn't, that's a violation of conditions. But your P&P officers are, they don't.
And the
do that.
conditions are primarily focused on having prescribed regimen of medical, psychiatric, or psychological care or treatment, housing and housing as well. So those are like specifically what we're talking about is the kind of conditions. And obviously those there has to be a way to supervise that. And
TLC may not have access.
we need to, I would suggest that we expand exactly what we need in the rulemaking so they have that figured out. Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, I appreciate that.
Was a real issue in Springfield. James?
So I guess we're not gonna answer this question today, but that's legitimate, but so wouldn't a court just issue a special order that that the person sentenced, whatever you want to call it, for our purposes, has to share this information with B&B? Because I know that legally they can.
They would be up to sign a release of information form. And some
But-
folks don't want to do, because they would have to sign a release of information form with every place that they're getting treatment,
Mhm.
every single place. And it's really hard sometimes because the person say, I already signed one, why do I need to sign another one? That's what P&P was running into.
So more of a compliance issue than a legality issue.
Well, it's-
Because they legally can make them do it. It's just whether or not they're complying.
Well, if they're not competent to stand
Right,
trial.
Right, I get it. Okay.
But I'm just flagging that that could be a real issue.
Yeah.
And DOC isn't getting the necessarily. We're gonna have, I mean, they're gonna have to check in to make sure the person is actually going to treatment or taking their meds. I just don't know how P&P folks can really do that. Because most folks come into the office and sometimes they do go out to their homes. But a lot of times, or they do phone calling, it depends what level of supervision DOC feels the person needs. But think about the folks who were here for pretrial supervision.
Mhm.
What we went through with what was needed for supervision. You could do electronic monitoring, you could do phone calls, you could do actual visits. But it's going to be based on that risk assessment and who's doing the risk assessment. Is it DOC or is it Department of Health or mental health or, I mean, there's layers to the monitoring out in the community that we haven't vetted in this committee this session. We did with pretrial supervision. There's many layers to it. It's really complicated.
Right. So I'm gonna make sure in this rulemaking component that this is spelled out more. That they have to come up with how they're gonna deal with the compliance. Because it's clear that the conditions include compliance with the language that the order as an explicit condition of supervision that the person comply with the prescribed regimen of medical, psychiatric, or psychological care or treatment. So we're making that's really what the conditions are all about. So we need to put something in as far as how one can actually implement and access.
HIPAA protected
Right, right.
information.
Yep.
Should that also be another check-in with joint justice or not? Because we have in the feasibility plan where it's the mental health and Dale, those departments are the lead departments to do the monitoring in the community in collaboration with DOC. We have a report. They have to check in with joint justice on that piece. Should they also check in?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be generally on the rulemaking, it's part of the rulemaking.
I know we've had long days, folks.
So we'll have the language for tomorrow morning.
Or work some more with Eric.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over and see if he's still here.
Thank you.
Anything else for Martin before tomorrow morning, folks? Is there a general feel of, I know we haven't seen the language, but it's the concept. And Martin came in and laid the groundwork. What is the general feel of the committee? Can you support this amendment or not?
Yes,
I need,
I'm generally good, yes.
yes.
I'm gonna think about it.
Yeah, I need one time.
Other folks, Brian?
Okay.
Well,
Meeting to a mess, but it's wondering what's right. All right, well, of course, you gotta understand the language and see the language first.
That's
That's what that's there. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
I hope it helped.
Thank you.
Well, it definitely helps.
Thank you for your work, Martin.
So tomorrow here at 30.
Mhm.
Think it through
Can you explain, please, what happens at 8:30 tomorrow morning here?
language for this.
Right, so we get whatever he's worked up this afternoon and evening.
And we're gonna have to take a position on it because it's amending part of our amendment.
And we will, in this committee, be taking a position on that language as they in that committee are taking a position on this language.
I think for us.
Is that it, these two, or
Hmm?
that's it, these two, judiciary and corrections?
Yeah, I'm not sure if healthcare human services is gonna get involved. Because they're amending our portion,
Yes.
and I know that they included some of healthcare's amendments in that amendment that they're gonna be presenting to us.
Is there any chance we're gonna see that language before tomorrow morning? Like later tonight?
Yeah,
I
well,
was
if
curious
he
about
sends
that
it to me.
Well, it's gonna keep you up there.
If he sends it,
You don't think it will?
No, that's why I asked.
if he sends it to me, which I asked him if he could send it to me before 8:30 tomorrow, I will send it out to the committee.
Right.
Yeah,
That, it puts us in a tough position, folks, and I was clear when I met with them. You cannot have the forensic listed as a forensic facility in DOC. It's real clear on that. It's one of the first languages that was kind of put there, looked like the DOC was gonna be the forensic facility in the interim. I know, I'm French, can't help it, I'm there,
Say a word.
I know.
You didn't have to.
You know, I talk with my hands.
You're fine.
It's French. So at least they were clear, put in any forensic facility DOC language, because that's sort of where it was headed. I was like, So,
so just so I don't have to ask it tomorrow morning, this is not a question for Martin, but it came off of James's comment about sort of enforceability, I think, compliance, I think you were talking about. So it seems the court can make as a condition of release, taking your meds, whatever, some sort of, is the release of that information also something that they can force? I mean, this goes back to your question about HIPAA, and it's sort of the intersection of those two.
I know for a fact they can't. But I think Alice's legitimate concern is how the compliance
how do
is.
you monitor that?
Mhm. But
How
But
do
a
you
court
monitor-
can put it as a condition. This is
Sure.
well, what happens like everything else. When they don't comply, then you're back to a crap.
But you could force compliance to take your meds, which would require your doctor or whoever the medical professional is to know that without it in
Yeah,
papers.
but it has-
Share that, is that medical doctor gonna share that information with people?
This is the intersection that I'm talking about, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, this is the layers that you get
Yeah.
into when you have DOC monitoring folks of this situation in the community.
But I think where I'm gonna have a problem with this is, DOC is gonna say, yes, we can do anything you give us, right? They have. They said they could do this already. And I can't unhear the voices I've heard of the POs that I know personally from having represented them from 10 years, who say, like verbatim, this is a different sport, right? Than what we do right now. We are not qualified to do this. We don't have the capacity to do this. And it's hard for me to stack up that against anything the administration says and say, this is a good idea, going forward. Because at the end of the day, those are the people who are going to do the work and they don't want to, and they don't think they can,
And they're understaffed.
and they're understaffed.
It's a tough one, folks. So maybe spend some time thinking. I know some folks automatically agree with this and do it, but we also have to work.
Mhm.
We are responsible for DOC policy. We are responsible for our P&P officers. And is there anything that folks can think of overnight to help them in this monitoring out community? Is there anything we can do? Is there further checkbacks? I'm open to see. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, they're gonna be going through rulemaking, emergency rules. I'll have a better idea come January. Nothing comes into effect until January of next year. So just be thinking about this tonight for the P&P folks out there.
To your point, Connor, I mean, you know, there is going to be this rulemaking. Suppose that there were training that were part of this rulemaking. You're rejecting the notion that the training could work or that it would happen or all of the above.
And like, we need training all over at DOC, but if you don't have enough people, you know, you're not going to fill the shifts and you're not going to have appropriate training to really delve down deep into this. And I think the specific kind of training is very tailored to a more traditional human services than corrections, which is enforcement monitoring, you know, I don't know, again, that it's a different sport than what we do now, just sticks with me.
Thanks.
It's a very different world for P&P for that. So just think of maybe some parameters we could put in around this or something to help our folks overnight. 8:30.
On a good note, our chair pulled us through the conference call proudly, even though we were all smacking our heads against the table, but she did an excellent job getting us through and navigating the system. So
We got quite a bit. We made it, but it's because of the work that we as a committee did. We had
absolutely.
solid ground to stand on. So let's go off of YouTube and we're back at